Hello and welcome to a Life Too Sweet podcast. I am your host, Dana, and as always, on this podcast, we are interested in the three elements that are the most important, and they are the spirit, the mind, and the body. And when the spirit, mind, and body are in unison, that is when you are able to live a life too sweet. And that's what we're talking about here today, living that life that we want to live. And how are we going to get there? Well, there are many aspects to that, and those are the three elements that have to be taken care of. And I believe that today we are going to talk about the mind, and we are going to talk about emotional intelligence, what they are, why do we need to have emotional intelligence, what are emotions, and how do we handle them? So I think it's really important because being intelligent with your emotions, it doesn't seem like it's possible sometimes. I feel it must be true, right? Well, the truth is that is not the truth. The truth is there are two parts of the mind. There's the subconscious and the conscious. Now, there are many people that understand this, even neurologically. There's a lady, Caroline Leaf, who actually explains the neurological responses to the brain from our emotions. So this is a true fact, and there is truth, and there are many people who have done studies and with the brain and the mind and who are neurological experts, and they understand this because they've seen it and they have studied it. So I have read many articles on the subconscious and the conscious. So I don't really know the neurological part of it, but it has been done. There are studies, just like I said. Caroline Leaf is an amazing woman. If you want to check her out, I listen to her podcasts. She is so amazing. And all the things that I have learned, she has the answers to why they are true. And that's really an amazing thing. So I'd like to talk about our emotions and the subconscious. So I will say, I would like to explain first, I guess, what the subconscious is and what the conscious is. So I'm going to try to explain it like this because it made a little bit of sense to me. So think of Polaroid pictures. I don't know if you are old enough to remember Polaroids, but they would come out as pictures, and then on the bottom would be like a white strip. And so I think of my subconscious as pictures of situations that I have been through. So say I was in a relationship with somebody, and whenever they said a certain thing, I reacted a certain way. So I'll take that picture, I put it in my subconscious, and it sits there. And then somebody else says the same thing 10 years later. Boom, it comes up from my subconscious, and now I react the same way. And now from the subconscious to my conscious, now I react the same way I always reacted. Now, where did I get this reaction from? Well, usually these reactions come from when we're young. So I think of the times when I was a young child, the most emotions that came from my family were anger, annoyance. They were annoyed when I'd ask a question. So usually I would go to my mother or father and I'd ask a question and they would yell at me. They'd get annoyed. Oh, what do you want? What's going on? What do you want from me? So that's what I knew about communication. That's what I knew about emotions and how to handle my emotions whenever I was annoyed or somebody asked me a question. My first response would always be, oh my God, what do they want? What do you want? And I was wondering, where did this come from? Well, it came from when I was really young. And unfortunately, when we are very young, that is when we learn most of our most important behaviors. And our behaviors of our intelligence of emotions is very, very important. And it happens at a very young age. And these pictures come into our subconscious at a very young age, and we can keep them there for a very long time. So I have to say that I have noticed the situations in my life that have not been stellar, and bad experiences of emotions have made my life harder, and I've had less good relationships because of those attitudes, and having that anger as being my first response to any time I was not in the mood to hear somebody else's speech, whatever they had to say, because I was maybe busy or I just wasn't feeling like talking at that moment, because it's just a thought that was embedded in my head for a very young age. I've noticed it now that I'm in my 40s because I look at who I am, and the way I handle myself, and why do I not have very good relationships with others? And I realized, well, if I get annoyed with other people, why would they want to talk to me? Why would they want to have good conversations with me? So I started changing that idea, probably my late 30s, early 40s. I'm 44 now. So I may have been like 39 to 40. And I started realizing I did not have good relationships. And I wanted to see, well, why? So my emotions were not in check. I was not emotionally intelligent at all. When I felt something, I said it. When I was upset, I let everyone know it. So I started realizing that, you know what? It's me. This is the reason why. I'm very cynical. There's certain things that I do that happened to come from when I was younger and my family did to me. They reacted the same ways now that I'm reacting. And I see people walk away from me. So because my emotions were not intelligent, because I didn't think before I acted, and I didn't think before I spoke, guess what? People had to hear the wrath of me. They had to hear things that they didn't want to hear about themselves. I'm not the one that needs to come and tell them who they are and how they're thinking and how I feel 24/7. I never knew that because I always thought, well, if I feel it, I'm going to say it, right? Because this is what happened with my family. When they were angry, they let me know. When they were mad, they let me know. When they were tired, they let me know. But there's times when I need to take my emotions and put them on the back burner, just listen and not react to every situation. So I see how important relationships are, communication is, and where does my communication fall short? Well, it falls short when my emotions are not in check. When I do not say, don't speak before you think, use the emotion later. Let's feel the emotion, let it pass, get past the initial conversation, go back and be intelligent about it and say, okay, why do I feel the way I feel? Is it an old tape? Is it an old Polaroid picture in the background saying, this is what they really mean, Dana? This is not what they say they mean. This is what they really mean. And I see this a lot in our politics today. I see this a lot in relationships and why people come into recovery. Now, me being a recovery coach, me being a recovery leader in Celebrate Recovery that I am, I see this over and over. I see just communication issues and intelligence that is not being used when it comes to emotions. And we have it. It's just not talked about. It's not something that you go and see it in the news, or we have to, think before we make our judgments. It's usually, this person said this, I feel this way, this is truth. And the thing about the subconscious is it's not true. It's stuff we tell ourselves that could totally not be true. It could be an emotion, as I said, from the past. It could even be emotion we just put in today. It could be, I heard something 10 times from 10 different people. It must be true. I'm going to put that in that subconscious, and now I'm going to use that as the truth. And it's not the truth, right? It's what's going to keep us from growing because we see things wrong. Now, there's another part of being emotionally intelligent, and it's going back, looking over it, and analyzing it. And I was actually just listening to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about that, where it's, that is what makes us more intelligent. When we go back, sit and analyze what we did wrong, what we did right, and take those things that we did right and keep using them. And we can put those in our subconscious. And we can make this become our new normal. And there's also many studies about how long it takes to change and make something that, a new idea, and make that become a permanent idea in your head, in your mind. And I don't know how many times it takes, and many of them have different amounts of time. And I think Caroline Leaf actually has it neurologically and scientifically explained how long. And I'm not sure if it's like 10,000 times or something, that you do something over and over again and you make that become embedded in you. And now that is a change. So the other thing about intelligence is, well, we have to make a change. And change has a few different dimensions to it. If we want to change, we have to know that we need to change first, right? First, we need to know something's wrong. I need to make a change. So if I know that there's something wrong with me and I need to make a change, that's the first. Now, am I willing to make the change? Well, that's the next. Am I willing? It's bad enough. I'm willing to make the change. It could be bad for 20 years, 30 years. It could be bad for a few months, and then I make the change. Well, if I'm emotionally intelligent and I know that something isn't right and my emotions are a little off and I'm feeling uncomfortable, well, something has to change. Now, it either has to be something from the other person, and if that they can't change, then I have to make decisions on where I want to have them in my life and how much I want them in my lives. But if it's something that I need to change because of my bad behaviors, I need to know first that I need to change. Second, that I'm willing to change. Third, think about it. I'm going to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to contemplate making this change. How can I do it? Am I willing to do it? Yes. Now it's start putting the steps in place. And that's when change can happen. And that takes emotional intelligence. We can't make change unless we are emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent, knowing that this is wrong. There's something going on with me. What is it? Those are powerful questions. What is it? How can I change? Why do I need to change? These small words are so strong and so powerful. I remember when I was a kid, I remember teachers talking about that. I don't know how old I was. I had to be like 7 or 8. And I remember I was school in New York, and I remember them saying, you want to know who and why and how. These are such important words. Like, who told me this? Why do I believe this? How is it going to work if I do it or if I don't do it? So these are powerful 3-letter words that really can help us hone in on the issues that we're going through, and we have an opportunity to make the change because we have emotional intelligence. We can take care of those emotions. We can take those emotions, take them by the hand and say, no, I don't want to feel this way. Why am I feeling this way? How am I looking at this? What do I need to do to change? I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me analyze it and look at it. Now, it seems like a lot. When I talk about it, it sounds like, wow, this is a lot of stuff that I just don't want to do. But it really doesn't take that much time. The minute I go to bed and I sit down, I usually look and go, okay, I had this situation. How did I handle it? Why did it not go the way I wanted it to go? What was my part? What was their part? What do I need to change? What do I need to look at? What's my part and what's their part? And how can I let them know if I haven't let them know? And what part can I do to make a change? Because if I want a change to happen, I have to do my part. Now, there are going to be times when the other is not willing to change, and just like I said in the past. But I have to be intelligently thinking and analyzing my day so that I can take care of those feelings that I think are just going to ruin my day. If I think these feelings are going to ruin my day and ruin my sobriety and ruin my just relaxation and my time of peace, if I think it's going to ruin my time of peace, I have to look at it because it's important to have that peace. I know how important peace is, and I know when I am emotionally intelligent, I have more peace. I'm able to communicate with others better. I have better relationships. I go to sleep at night and I'm not stressed. It makes such a difference when I just know that where my emotions are going and how I can take care of those emotions. So I think emotional intelligence is a very, very important subject that doesn't get talked about enough, doesn't get looked at enough. And when it does, it's only certain people that really look at it. It's not like your everyday person. It seems like, and I know, first off, I know that it's hard to look at ourselves. For me, it's not. For some reason, God made me that way. He made me always analyzing myself and looking at myself and trying to better myself. It's always been something. Maybe it's in my competitive nature. I like to learn. I'm a learner. It's part of my my profile of, I don't know if you've ever done DISC profile, but it shows like, you know, your personality traits. And that's my personality traits. I was born that way. And I never thought that others weren't. I thought, oh my gosh, everybody looks at their emotions and what they're doing wrong and try to change and grow. But that's not the case. It is not the case at all. I did not know this. And so I understand it's hard looking at your faults. It's hard looking at things that you don't do well. Because if we don't do that, there's no opportunity for change. There's none. I have to look at my problems. I have to look at my side of the situation. If I don't look at my side of the situation, I can't make a change because I can't change you. I can't change what you're going to do and how you're going to live your life and your emotional intelligence, right? I can't change that. All I can do is I can give you the information and you can do what you will with it. But if I don't give the information, there's no way that you can find it, right? If people don't go out there and give this information, it's important to look at ourselves. Even when it hurts, you know, recording myself. I remember when I was in radio, just recording my voice and listening to it. It was so hard. I cringed at just listening to my voice. And I kind of think of that being the way it is for people who don't like looking at themselves, right? When you look at what you do wrong, it's like, oh, I do that? I don't want to look at that, you know? But me, when I see the things that I'm doing that are just, I don't think they're nice, and I see the look on other people's faces when I do something wrong and I hurt them. And I'm like, wow, that really makes me cringe. Goes, what am I doing to these people, you know? So I don't know if that's the same way people feel about looking at themselves. It is not easy. I can understand that in a way, but I always like to look at myself because I can't change you. I can change me. Now, there's certain things that I believe are inherent in our lives and are our personality traits, but there are so many things that we can change, and we definitely can change our emotional intelligence. We definitely can grow in that area, because the things that help in that area, I mean, it changes your whole life when you take care of your emotions. It helps, like I said, with the relationships. I mean, I saw the difference in relationships from my work. I used to work at one hospital and then I moved to another. And at the end of working at the other hospital, I started making those changes where I started listening to people and not commenting on anything negative. And I would just try to be positive and tell people about the positive things that were going on in my life. And I started seeing people want to be around me more. I wasn't as angry. I wasn't frustrated. I mean, when people didn't do what they were supposed to do, I just didn't say anything. I just did what I was supposed to do. I didn't stop working hard. I just did what I was supposed to do. Instead of stop working, get upset with them, I just changed my attitude and people started seeing it. And yeah, when people weren't doing their work, I would say, hey, come on, can you help me out with this one patient? I know you're tired. You know, I changed my personality. I changed, instead of being angry at them, I spoke with them with intelligence, with emotional intelligence. Yes, I'm not happy about the way you're acting. Let me ask you to help me. Maybe they'll help me. And many times they did. There are times when they walked away and hid, but I can't change them. And that's when I started realizing, Dana, you can't change the world, but you can help the world change by just changing your attitude, changing your emotional intelligence, growing in this area of your life. So let's take a look at now when I moved to the other hospital. I already had those personality traits. I changed my personality because I knew that I had an issue and I didn't have friends and I didn't have people liking me or even wanting to help me because I was just so miserable all the time. So I came over here. I'm starting to work at another hospital and they seem to like me. Everybody there loves me and they want to have relationships with me and conversations with me. I was thinking, wow, the difference of me just not getting angry when people didn't do what I wanted. You know, and when I started falling for that trap, I stopped, you know, because I work with some people and we complain. There's things that I don't like at my job, like any other job. But I started going, you know, look at the good things. You know, we're very blessed to be over here. It's slower than the other hospital. Our boss really cares about us. She works with us. Yeah, there's certain things she does we don't like. But I would look at all the good things and I thought, you know, we are very blessed to be working in this system that we work in, because the Memorial Hospital system here that I work at is such a good system compared to other systems. Now, it does have its issues just like anything else, but many of the things they do are helping so many people. So I look at the good, And of course, I'm going to talk about the bad at times, and I'm going to comment on them if they're really bad and they need to be worked on. There's times when I see things and I say something, but I don't say it under my breath, angry, frustrated, emotionally a mess, right? I don't say it with my emotions. I say it with my logic. Now, I had emotion. I was angry. I was upset. I go through it. Then I go and I talk with the correct emotions, with the most intelligent reasoning. And when I come up to somebody with those types of attitudes, they listen. Okay, you see something wrong. Now you're talking about it. I make sure I go in there at the right timing. I think about what I'm going to say before I say it. I analyze what I'm going to say. I try to get the points across and let them know I'm doing it because I care, not because I want to show you don't know what you're doing. All these things are really important, and they do take a little time. It is true. It took me a little bit of time when I have to go talk to somebody with those emotional intelligence, but it's possible, and it's really not as hard. Once we get to do something over and over again and it becomes a normal thing, it's easier to do because I already know what I'm going to say. It's like learning something new. You've been doing it, say now you're doing it 10 years. It's like you do it with your eyes closed. I mean, I've been an x-ray for so many years that I can do any x-ray real fast. It's not hard for me. I don't even have to hardly look. I know exactly where I'm going. I know it's easy now. But in the beginning, it was hard. It was a muscle that had to be worked out, But once I worked it out, everything changed. I became better at it. So with emotional intelligence, it takes a little time, but it's so worth it. It's worth making that change because, like I said, the three elements that are really important are the spirit, mind, and the body. And when my mind is right, my spirit is right, and my body feels better. I know this to be true because I deal with physical pains because of when I'm emotional and when I'm stressed out. I feel it physically. It's crazy how all three of those elements work together, the mind, body, and the spirit. It all works together. And when they're in unison, I'm able to communicate better. I'm able to feel better. I'm able to live better. I'm able to help others around me. Even people that we disagree on so many things, they see that I'm emotionally intelligent about it. I'm not getting angry or frustrated about it. They want to talk to me. They're like, wow, I don't agree with her on everything, but she really is talking with some intelligence and she's not getting angry about stuff. Maybe what she's saying can help me. Maybe I'm wrong. If I want to get to somebody and I want them to see something that's really going to help them, are they going to come to me if I'm screaming and yelling at them? Are they going to come to me if I don't talk to them because I'm scared of them or I'm fearful? They're not going to come to me, right? I mean, it's very simple, easy stuff, but it's going to take a little bit of work. And I know that it's not always easy and not everybody wants to put in 100%. There's times when I don't even want to put in 20%, okay? Today I'm not feeling good. I'm having physical pains, but I want to do what I can do to help others. And if it means going out of my way a little bit, I'm going to do it. If it means putting in a little bit more effort, taking some time, changing things so that I feel better, so that I can do the podcast where others are going to learn and grow from it, I'm going to do it. So, yeah, this is definitely an important subject to talk about. I think it's something that we all should look at and understand. I think this is something that should be in the schools and taught. And that's what I'm doing here with this podcast. I want to talk about things that don't get talked about enough, don't get used enough in the world. And this is why there's so much anger, fear, resentment. This is why there's so much divide in the world, especially in politics, because we think that the other person doesn't care. They're going to hurt us. Yes, sometimes people's ideas are bad ideas and they hurt. But the only way I can get my good ideas across is if I'm emotionally intelligent, if I have good communication. If I come at you with anger, fear, and resentment, you're not going to listen to me. If I come at you with understanding and I'm coming with a clear mind and a clear message, you're going to listen. You're going to want to listen. And if you don't listen then, maybe down the road you might listen, because that's what happened with me. I started hearing people that I didn't agree with politically being so nice to me and giving me grace. I was just like, wow, this person thinks totally different from me. And they're giving me love and telling me that they care about me and that they understand how I feel. And it's like, wait a minute, this person doesn't agree with me. And that's when I started changing and I started looking at people who thought differently than me. And I realized, wow, some of these people are really good people. We just disagree politically or disagree on policy. It's not a big deal. We can work with that. But the ones that are angry and fearful and resentful and don't know how to handle their emotions, they're the ones that I'm not going to listen to. They may have great ideas, but I'm not going to listen to somebody screaming and yelling at me and calling me names, right? I'm not going to listen to somebody who doesn't want to talk, who walks away when a conversation. I mean, that's another emotional and not intelligent. I mean, that's not being intelligent, right? With our emotions. Our emotions they're confusing, but sometimes they're really not as confusing as we think. If we go back, we look at maybe our past and some of those lies that we put in our subconscious, those pictures that are just not true, that we need to get out of our lives, away from us, and not keep them in that subconscious in the back, because we don't want them to come into the conscious, right? We want the good subconscious, the truth to come out of our subconscious into our conscious. That's what we want. And the only way to get there, like I said, is to be emotionally intelligent. So I hope this podcast helped you to understand how important it is, and look into it. Like I said, Caroline Leaf, she talks about it. She has a lot of podcasts, like I said, with others who use these ideas in their own lives and don't even realize where it comes from. But I know the science behind things is important for a lot of people. I never thought this was a scientific fact. I just thought that this just made sense. But it is actually scientifically backed up. And that's what's great about it. That's what will help believe in it. Because we have to have the truth behind it. Like I said, truth is important. So, like I said, I am Dana. This is a Life Too Sweet podcast. And we're interested in those three elements: the spirit, the mind, and the body. And when those three elements are working in unison, you can have a life too sweet and live the way you want to live. So thanks again for checking out my podcast. If this is on YouTube, thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. And guys, thank you always for sticking around and learning about life and how we're going to get through it, because it isn't easy. Again for checking out my podcast. If this is on YouTube, thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. And guys, thank you always for sticking around and learning about life and how we're going to get through it, because it isn't easy. Thanks a lot, guys. You have a good one, and I'll see you at the next one.